Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here, and today I'm going to be giving you some quick tips and tricks for Ashes of Creation Apocalypse. Now, APOC, as we're going to call it going forward, because its other title is a little bit wordy, is a free-to-play Battle Royale game that's now out on Steam. It's also available from their website, link in the description down below. This game was created, and I believe still is, a testing ground for Intrepid's main game, or their MMO, Ashes of Creation. So as a result of that, I'm not sure if this game will be coming to console, or how much, longevity there is in this Battle Royale, but it's been a lot of fun, and I've learned quite a bit over the past few days of playing it, and I think watching myself first playing it and watching people like Stroud playing it after a while, there are a lot of confusing mechanics in the game that don't immediately make sense, so I'm just going to quickly explain some of this stuff to you guys, and hopefully it'll help you in your first few rounds of APOC. So starting off, before we even get into the actual gameplay, in the main menu, you'll see that you have a bunch of options here, graphics options, video options, all the other standard stuff. Now, sometimes, and this has happened to me, your graphics options will bug out, and you won't have any options to like change or reduce the shadows, the motion blur, and all that stuff, and I think they all get stuck to max, which can be pretty horrific if you have a mid to low end PC. But don't worry, I have a fix for this. I went into the Ashes of Creation official Discord to ask, and this is the answer they gave me, and I can confirm it did work for myself, but if you don't trust me, go check out the Discord for yourself. Link in the description down below. First of all, make sure your game is fully closed. Then you want to go to your start menu, use the run command, type in %localappdata%, and then you want to navigate to appdata/local/apoc/save/config/WindowsClient, and then you want to delete your GameUserSettings. Now you can see it on the screen obviously, but if all of that was a little bit too fast for you, I'll put a typed out version of what I just said in the description down below. But yeah, once you delete your GameUserSettings and then you restart the game, it will create a new GameUserSettings for you, which will hopefully give you back your video options. Now this can happen multiple times. If it does, you're just gonna have to go and delete that file again, but fingers crossed this is something they'll fix in the near future. One other option that can also be pretty annoying and you probably want to fix very quickly is mouse smoothing. So mouse smoothing is always enabled. Every time you restart the game, mouse smoothing will turn back on, so make sure you disable this unless you enjoy it, but who really uses mouse smoothing in 2019? I don't know. Okay, so you got your settings fixed, you got your sensitivity, you've got your mouse smoothing turned off, and your graphics aren't burning your computer from the inside out. Let's actually go into the game. So this bit of the screen that you're seeing right now, this part of the gameplay is actually the equivalent of like the battle bus or the Zeppelin from Royale or the plane from PUBG, and you can actually jump out of this at any given time you want just by pressing the spacebar. I don't think this is immediately obvious, it doesn't tell you. For my like first 5 to 10 games, I thought I just had to drop out at the end, but yeah, you can press spacebar at any time and then drop onto the map. Now when you do drop down, you'll be on a griffin, a flying eagle lion thing, which is pretty cool. Now there are 2 different modes to the griffin. It starts off in its fast vertical drop mode, so you're just going like down as fast as you can, but if you press the spacebar, you'll go into like a gliding sort of mode, which is slower and allows you to go more horizontally across the map. So handy info if you just want to drop straight down, don't press the spacebar. If you want to get a little bit of distance, you can press the spacebar, and you can keep switching between these 2 modes. Now when you land on the ground and start looting, the rarity of the loot in terms of best to worst is red is the best, followed by yellow and gold being pretty good, and then blue is the worst. Now despite this, in my quick experience of gameplay, there are still some weapons, even at red tier rarity, that are still poop, and that is the wand and the drifter. Now maybe some people in the comments are going to tell me I'm wrong and these weapons are actually fantastic, but I have found them to be completely useless almost all of the time, so my recommendation is to not pick up the wand or the drifter. Inverse to this, there are some other weapons, which I believe these other people will agree with me on this form, that are good regardless of their rarity, and that is the bone smasher, which is this big nasty mace that applies a bleed, so when they run around they bleed, and then there is the life bringer as well. Even at blue and yellow rarity, these weapons are a must keep, and if you find a legendary of either of them, GG's, they are really, really insanely good. The abilities on these weapons are crazy. When it comes to armor, I generally just say take the higher tier rarity of armor, so if you see red armor, pick it up over your yellow, or if you see yellow armor, pick it up over your blue, because more armor equals more hit points. On the topic of armor, if you do manage to kill an opponent, make sure to check what armor they have on their body before you start repairing your own armor. Otherwise, you could find yourself just wasting some time in that you repair your own armor and then you pick up theirs. Obviously, their armor is damaged because you're just done fighting them, and then you have to repair their armor as well. So save yourself a little bit of time. Double check that you don't want to put on a piece of their armor first before you start repairing. You can repair your armor by pressing F1 on your keyboard. You will have to stand your ground while you do this. This is the same for healing in the game as well. All of the healing and all of the armor repair outside of the life bringer, you do have to be stationary to do it. And to repair your armor, you need magic. Magic magic is used to repair armor, and it's also used as ammo for your weapons. You can find it pretty much everywhere on the map, but make sure you do pick it up. Just wandering over it will consume it into your character, but it's always handy to have a full magic bar for armor repairs and extra ammo. Some weapons only exist at the red rarity, namely the Fire Frost and Crossbow are two of my favorites. Very, very powerful weapons, my favorite ranged weapons. And when it comes to armor, my favorite abilities are Catfall and Invisibility. Sometimes I'll even take a yellow Catfall or a yellow Invisibility chest piece over a red, Polymorph or something like that, because I find these abilities are so useful for the end game. In APOC, it feels like the final circle is always packed full of players because the time to kill in this game is very slow. A lot of people survive till the end, and when you've got a lot of people all moving around in that final circle, the chances that you get taken out, you get third-partied, you get vultured are pretty high. So having these two escape options feel really, really powerful in the final game circle. Often you can just pop Catfall, start jumping up and down in the air. You can go invisible, and the enemies will just ignore you and fight each other, and then you can prey on them and just get the easy win. So really powerful abilities for what I feel is the current state of the game. Now, some quick movement tips. Movement is very, very important in APOC. Good movement and bad movement can be the result of you dying early or surviving till the end and getting that glorious victory. So you can triple dash into the air and then press B to deploy your Griffin. Now, this isn't always the best way to get around the map, but if you're going from a really high point, like up on a tower, or you've got a wide open valley below you, it's probably a pretty good idea to dash into the air and deploy that Griffin just to move around the map faster. On the topic of pressing B and H and all the other key bindings, sometimes this happened to me when I first started the game. The key bindings don't work. Pressing H would not summon my horse. The way I was able to get around this is I just changed my key bindings and then I reset them to default, and suddenly things were working again. So if you have this issue, change one of your key bindings and then reset to default. There are horses around the map. You'll have to pick up a horse, like acquire it before you can use it. But in my opinion, they're pretty useless. The triple dash and the catfall and all the other movement abilities in the game make the horse feel pretty meh. I guess it's a good way to save stamina, but generally I don't find myself using the horse too much. On the topic of stamina, make sure that you are cautious with how much you use. If you see an opponent in the distance just sort of standing on a hill with a longbow, triple dashing over to get to them, while it may seem like a good idea to catch them unaware, could put you in a bad spot, especially if they have a Spirit Pierce, which is the spiky spear weapon. If you triple dash into them, you'll have no stamina left, so you won't be able to swing very often, and then if they continue to drain your stamina at that point, you may find what would seem like a good idea to get the jump on the opponent actually turns around and bites you on the butt. So be wary of how much stamina you use to close the gap between you and an opponent. Whilst we're talking about spiky, evil, nasty weapons, if you see a mace in the enemy's hand and it's glowing red, that is the Bone Smasher. It's got its hemorrhage ability active. You want to make sure you stay away from that thing. It's really nasty. The same with the axe as well. It's like a half axe, a halberd. If that thing is glowing green, again, try and stay away from your opponent if you can. Both the hemorrhage, I believe it's called, and the lifesteal ability are really, really strong, probably the strongest abilities in the game. So if you can, try and kite your opponent while you see these abilities active, and then re-engage once you see them switch to a different weapon or the glowy effect goes away. Likewise, if you see your opponent doing the same, if they see you pull out that Bone Smasher and then they start running, make sure you have a ranged weapon on you. As I mentioned earlier, my favorites are the crossbow or the Fire Frost, like potion launcher thing, but you can also use the longbow and Nightfall pretty effectively as well. But yeah, my recommendation is to keep a ranged weapon on you. It'll just help with those awkward fights where your opponent's running away or you're trying to catch up with them. So that's it, guys. That's my quick tips and tricks for Ashes of Creation Apocalypse. I know some of this stuff is probably pretty straightforward, but I found a lot of this stuff that I didn't know playing 2 days ago and I do know now. So if it just quickly brings you up to speed, maybe it'll make those first few rounds a little less painful, because this game does have a pretty steep learning curve. If you enjoyed this sort of content, if you enjoy APOC and you want to see me make more videos on it, you got any specific questions, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you go ahead and click the like button, subscribe for more content from the channel. And as always, guys, I'll see you all in the next video.